side.
What did I tell you? Oh, I hope I didn't break my headset there. All right, boys, we are back again.
In the last episode of our series on the early history of the
Ottoman Empire reaction episode 3. I forgot to do this last week. I tried to do this like once a week, but I tried to post like other stuff as well. But I gotta, finish off this series so that I could get started on like other series and whatnot that other people
We covered how the Ottomans,
want me to react
under
to.
the leadership of Osman and Orhan, expanded the territories and political institutions of the new state, and how both men took advantage of their declining neighbors to expand the apparatus of the Beylik. In this episode, we will explore the Ottomans' sudden and deep expansion into the Balkans during the aftermath of the latest Byzantine civil war, and how Europe responded to these swift land acquisitions by a rising Muslim power. Want to expand into Europe yourself?
I am poor. I don't even get donations. I always say this in my videos. I'm poor. Alright, let's continue.
1857, the Ottoman Beylik, under the military leadership of Orhan Gazi's son, Suleiman Pasha, had managed to create a bridgehead into Europe with the territorial acquisition of the Gallipoli Peninsula.
Dude, the Ottomans got so lucky in the last episode that I did. I cannot believe how lucky they got.
Thrace was opened to Ottoman raiders, and Ottoman families continued settling in the newly captured regions in Europe. The presumptive heir of the Beylik would also begin the peaceful annexation of Anatolian towns like Ankara and Bolu, with the help of the local Ahis religious order, the same order that Osman had allied during the days of the Kayı tribe. However,
it blows my mind how small the Roman Empire is, dude.
The same year would also see the 12-year-old Shehzada Halil, Orhan's son, through his marriage to the Byzantine royal Theodora Cantacuzeni, being captured by Genoese pirates during a raid on Ottoman territory. Pleading for the return of his son, the elderly and desperate Orhan went so far as to request the help of the newly established Byzantine emperor John V Palaiologos in the following negotiations with the pirates. In an act of classic Byzantine diplomacy, the emperor agreed to help the Ottoman leader retrieve back his son from the Genoese in return for declaring the half-Byzantine prince as heir to the Ottoman Beylik, paying half of the ransom requested by the pirates, revoking the Ottoman alliance with the
Genius. Oh, genius.
Palaiologos rivaled Kantakozenos family, cancelling all of Constantinople's debts to Bursa accumulated during the latest civil war, and lastly the cessation of all Ottoman raids into Byzantine territories.
That is a lot of debt.
Orhan would reluctantly agree to John's terms, and all Ottoman conquests in Thrace were put on hold while the Byzantines negotiated with the Genoese. After 2 years of negotiations, Halil
I'm surprised the Eastern Roman Empire at this point even have like any power. At this point, dude,
would be released and be first transported back to Constantinople, where the Ottoman Byzantine prince would wed the emperor's 10-year-old daughter before being shipped off to Ottoman.
10 years old. 10 years old. I know this is like normal back then, but like 10 years, bro, like she's not even in puberty, bro. She's not even in puberty. And you're wedding her? Dog. What the? I don't know how to feel about this one. Yeah, I can't feel, no. I can't feel a positive way about that one. No.
Territory. The whole crisis would highlight John V's answer to Ottoman aggression by planting the seeds for a Byzantine royal to inherit Ottoman territories and even potentially transforming the Beylik into a fellow Christian ally.
Very smart and clever.
Plans for the Ottoman Empire would move further forward.
You know something that I want to know? What are these other kingdoms or countries? Or I don't know, what are these? In my last reaction, somebody explained that the Latin Empire had taken over the Eastern Roman Empire, but that was short-lived. But what are these kingdom states? What are they?
when Orhan's eldest son and assumed heir, Suleiman Pasha, unexpectedly died during a hunting expedition in 1359. Going into grief for his son and heir, the now physically ill Orhan Gazi would appoint his 33-year-old son, Shahzada Murad, to oversee the Ottoman armies stationed in Thrace, before secluding himself within the walls of the Ottoman palace in Bursa. However, like his brother before him, Murad would also ignore the established agreements between Constantinople and Bursa, and began planning for a future military campaign to seize the major Byzantine city of Adrianople.
I knew that wasn't really going to last
After 3
long.
years of being inactive,
I never really understood, like, why would people even make these agreements if, like, you know, most likely these agreements were not even going to be respected anyways. I never understood
Ottoman
that.
armies in Thrace would begin military operations in the region in a two-pronged invasion. The upcoming military campaign would be led by 3 Ottoman commanders, all appointed by Murad personally: Lala Shahin Pasha, Hachi Il-Bey, and Ghazi Evrenos Bey, the latter 2 being former Karasid commanders. The Ottoman prince would first assign Evrenos Bey and his forces alongside the Thracian Aegean Sea coast to prevent Christian reinforcements from entering the region from the west.
Bro, why does he say Christian? What? Isn't it pronounced Christian? What? It's so weird hearing him say Christian. Like, I don't know. I always feel like the guy who speaks on Kings and Generals, I'm not gonna lie, low-key, I don't like the guy who narrates this stuff because his accent kind of annoys me. Like, Kings and Generals, they need someone to, like, you know, like the Epic History TV guy. That guy is like made for that role. But Kings and Generals, the guy who narrates, sometimes I just can't stand listening to him.
He himself would take the bulk of the Ottoman army into Byzantine territory up north. During the beginning of 1360, the Ottoman military campaign would begin, which would see Murad swiftly capturing the towns of Lulaburgaz, Abayski, and Kirkcaldy, reaching the Black Sea coast, thus territorially cutting off Constantinople from the rest of Europe.
Bruh.
That following year, Evrenos Bey would capture the militarily...
Bro, freaking, it's just comically sad how weak the Eastern Roman Empire is. I just pity them. I pity them so much. Like, the only real city I think that really couldn't take the Ottoman horde or onslaught was Constantinople itself.
The strategic fortress town of Didymatyko after a short siege, while Murad was finalizing his preparations for the march towards Adrianople. As panic arose in Constantinople, caused by the sudden Ottoman invasion, John V would form a new joint Byzantine-Bulgarian force in the west to counterattack the Ottomans in Thrace. However, the coalition force would be dispersed by Murad during the subsequent Battle of Piraeus and be pushed back behind the walls of Adrianople.
Oh my gosh, dude. Of course. I'm not even surprised at this point.
Murad would begin his much-awaited siege on Adrianople during the summer of 1361, and before long, the local Byzantine governor of the city would flee the city, thus resulting in the local garrison surrendering to Ottoman forces.
Dude, somewhat in my first reaction, my first episode reaction to the series, they told me that the early Ottoman Empire were just like a freaking war machine, and they were completely right.
Soon after the fall of Adrianople in the spring of 1362, the secluded 80-year-old Orhan Gazi would die from natural causes.
Very long.
His final words to his son Murad were, "Son, I've reached the end of my road while you are just starting out on yours. May God the Almighty bless your reign." Orhan Gazi would be buried in the Ottoman capital city of Bursa.
Very humble. Very humble, man. It's crazy to think about, because I'm just now starting my road too. Look, freaking hell, man. I'm like 19, bro. I'm like now getting myself together, bro. Freaking. So low-key, I low-key took that personal. Obviously, I'm not reigning over anything, but still, if I don't die early, you know, I have a whole life ahead of me, you know, especially this YouTube channel that I restarted.
He had conquered 36 years ago. Being renowned as the greatest and wealthiest of the Turkoman rulers of Anatolia by the famous 14th century Muslim scholar and traveller Ibn Battuta, Orhan Ghazi's greatest legacy would be transforming the Ottoman Beylik into a military power on par with the Byzantine Empire, and for expanding the state into...
Can you even compare that to the Eastern Roman Empire? Because the Eastern Roman Empire at that point is just so freaking weak. I mean, yes, it is impressive how the Ottomans were able to transform. Very, very, extremely impressive. But the Eastern Roman Empire, man...
Europe.
There's a growing...
Receiving the news of the death of his father while in Thrace, Murad would start his journey back to the capital city of Bursa to secure the Ottoman
Murad.
throne.
Let's see what you got,
Upon arriving in
Murad.
the city, the young Shahzada would be proclaimed as Sultan by the statesmen and the religious ulema of the capital. Meanwhile, in Anatolia, the news of Orhan's death had brought a period of uncertainty in the region, as the Ottoman garrison at Ankara was expelled by the local officials of the city and the sons of the former Ottoman...
Oh, so, okay. A bit of instability here. Okay, let's see what happens.
Shahzada Ibrahim and Halil revolted
That's
against Murad's swift
lot
seizure
of
of the
revolt.
Ottoman throne. Hearing of the troubling developments from his Anatolian province, in a quick and successful military campaign during the same year, Murad would re-establish Ottoman rule in Ankara and defeat and execute his two half-brothers, marking the event.
Man, freaking half-brothers, dude. Half-brothers. Wait, I just read this. He had his brother strangled. No. That is horrible. Oh, dude. Anyone who loses oxygen, like, literally, just squeeze your throat. Just squeeze it, not too long, because that will hurt. But if you just squeeze your throat and you try to breathe, that's so bad. Strangling, no. No, I would rather drown than be strangled. Drowning is peaceful. Strangling is not. Like, you'll probably end up like passing out and then die, but while you're not passed out, I did like what, in 30 seconds you pass out? Yeah, you're gonna feel all no, bro. Imagine strangling your own half. Dude, that is just wild to me how people back then could do this.
As the first Ottoman fratricide in history. After stabilizing his Anatolian holdings, Murad made plans for another military campaign, this time directed at Europe. As local Ottoman forces in Europe regrouped at the town of Didymateiko, another two-pronged attack into Thrace was being planned by the new Ottoman leader.
Oh my gosh, dude, at this point the Ottomans are just slowly eating away the Eastern Roman Empire.
Contingent of the Ottoman army and head west, hugging the Aegean Sea, while Lala Shahin Pasha would take his forces up north towards the Rhodope mountain range and descend into the Maritza valley. The Ottoman military offensive started out strong, with Avrenos Bey capturing the city of Komatini and Laha Shahin Pasha capturing Stara Zagora before going on
the Ottomans just can't be stopped.
to besiege Plovdiv, one of the largest cities within the Bulgarian Empire. After a long siege, in 1364, the city would fall to the forces of Lala Shahin Pasha and would thus serve as a major military base for the Ottomans in the region. As cities in Thrace collapsed like dominoes, Murad would further order
literally dominoes, man. Like how, why can no one not stop the Ottomans, bro? Like,
mass migration of Ottoman families from Anatolia to resettle in the newly conquered lands in Europe. After the Black Death, many cities in the Balkans were heavily depopulated. This made it easier for the Ottomans, who were only lightly scarred by the pandemic, to conquer and settle in the Balkans throughout the course of the decade.
that makes so much sense. Oh yes, okay, yes, because this was like what? Like 100 years after the Black Death, like kind of sort of like a century after the Black Death, because I know the Black Death happened in the 13th century, and we're currently in the 14th century, so this is about a century after the Black Death. No wonder why they're just steamrolling Europe, and they got lucky and they did not get it. You got to thank the Mongols for that. it was the Mongols who brought the Black Death to Europe, I think.
Shahzada Halil and the Ottoman conquest of Thrace, an official...
Well, Mongol like biochemical, like biological warfare, and it eventually, like, if you know what I mean, you should know what I'm talking about.
Peace treaty was signed between the Ottomans and a now rump Byzantine Empire in 1364, which would result in John V recognizing Murad's conquests in the region and promising to refrain from forming an anti-Ottoman coalition with other European powers.
Look, John V, if I were you, I would not respect that peace treaty. Like, you're literally running a rump state. What else do you have to lose at that point?
Although
and
there
Ottomans
is a lack
are just
of
gonna
European
kill him.
sources on the matter, according to traditional Ottoman chronicles, during the same year the peace treaty was signed, a European crusade was launched by rulers of Hungary, Serbia, Bosnia and Wallachia against Murad. Marching on Adrianople, which was by then slowly being transformed into a new Ottoman capital city. The goal of the crusade was to thwart further Muslim expansion into the Balkans and to possibly even push the Ottomans back across the Dardanelles into Anatolia. However, in a series of shrouded events, the Crusader army would be repulsed by the Ottoman forces of Haji Bey near the walls of Adrianople during the Battle of Sirte, or Serbian Destruction, which would see a 10,000 strong Ottoman force defeating a far larger European host. The decisive
How much were the Europeans though? How much?
Ottoman victory would help ensure a permanent Ottoman presence in the Balkans for another decade, and would also mark the first time the Ottomans would fight against an invading Crusader army in their history.
I just want someone to stop the Ottomans. I mean, like, we all know how this ends, but this is supposed to be a reaction video. We have 10 minutes left of the video, but still, like, come on. I'm just watching the Ottomans steamroll everyone.
History. As Ottoman victories against European powers mounted, another crusade was launched against Murad in 1366, this time under the leadership of the Count of Savoy, Amadeus IV. In a short military campaign between 1366 and 1367, Savoyard forces proved far more successful compared to their Balkan counterparts.
Finally, someone is finally stopping the Ottomans. Finally, man. Now we're talking.
Having recaptured the Gallipoli Peninsula for the Byzantines, before proceeding to raid the Bulgarian Black Sea coastline. With the Byzantine Emperor openly working with the Crusaders and travelling to Hungary and Rome for military support against the Ottomans, Murad would renew his war with both Constantinople and the Bulgarians. During the year 1368, the Bulgarian towns of Yambol, Burgas, Samakov and Sliven were quickly captured by Ottoman forces, and Byzantine lands were once again thoroughly raided. Seeing that European assistance was not forthcoming, John V would send his son...
I got too excited there for a second. They had us in the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
Manuel to Adrianople, now renamed Edirne, to plead with Murad and re-establish peace, which the desperate Byzantine emperor was thankfully granted. With peace once again re-established, Murad I could now focus on domestic issues, such as
Okay, I was gonna say, why didn't he just completely kill off the Eastern Roman Empire at that point? But okay, he's explaining it now.
His newly conquered territories into the Sultanate. Like with prior Muslim states, the Ottoman Sultanate followed a traditional policy of tolerance towards the peoples of the book, ergo Christians and Jews, who had the right to protection of their lives, properties and religions, as long as they accepted Muslim rule and paid the special head tax called the jizya in lieu of performing military service. Although mass conversion was prohibited due to the Ottoman desire to retain the jizya as a major source of income, some sections of the Balkan nobility would convert to Islam during the reign of Murad I to gain the full benefits of Ottoman rule.
They don't even care about their religion.
Perhaps the most major domestic development to come out during the reign of Murad I would be the introduction of the Janissary military corps into the Ottoman military. After the conquests of...
I've heard mixed things about the Janissaries. I've heard that they were super duper effective, super duper good. I've heard a lot of mixed things about them.
Last decade, the Ottoman state and its Ghazi soldiers had acquired considerable plunder, including the acquisition of many Christian male prisoners of war. During the reign of Murad, the Ottoman state instituted a tax of 1/5 on all slaves taken in war, and it was from this pool of manpower that Murad first constructed the elite Janissary military corps. With the help of his
It's wild to me how slaves willfully, but then again, just because you have the title of slave doesn't necessarily always mean that like your life is gonna be like terrible, you know? I feel like people have this like wrong perception of slavery where they think that your life is crappy and you know you're gonna get whipped and whatnot. That's not like the whole. That is like one page of it, and even then that like depends on like where, who owns them, you know, etc., etc. But like the whole page of slavery, like there's way more to slaves than just, oh yeah, you live a crappy life and you're gonna get whipped all day. It really annoys me how people have that wrong perception, because the legal definition of a slave is another human being who is owned by another human being, right? So because I was talking about this on my other reaction and I was reading my comments and someone was saying that, oh, that's not the definition of slavery because you're not buying and selling. I think this is my Russian reaction. I was talking about how serfdom was basically slavery. But they were like, no, because they don't own them and they're not buying and selling them. Guys, you don't need to sell people. Again, that was just certain people. Like I said, it really depends on who, but you don't need to be bought and sold to be classified as a slave. If you are owned by someone, if you are someone else's property, if you are a human being and you are classified as property, you are a slave, right? That's why I say that children literally children, legally speaking, children are slaves, because why? You're literally the property of your parents until you're 18. In fact, when you turn 18, the official term for when you're no longer your parents' property is emancipation. Because again, children are technically slaves too. But we don't go around freaking like actually, well, in some cases, some parents do beat the heck out of their kids. Like a slave would get beatings, right? So if you ever realize that, you know, sometimes as a kid it kind of felt unfair, you know, how your parents would have more leverage over you, well, there you go. That's because legally speaking you were technically a slave. You just simply had laws that protected you not to get completely abused, right? So I don't know, I feel like a lot of people have like a big misconception of what slavery is and whatnot, but let's continue.
Vizier Kandali Halil Pasha the Elder, the Sultan's first household troops were formed, thus creating the first standing elite military corps in Ottoman history.
Slaves? Wow.
Decades, the Devshirme, also known as the blood tax, would be fully institutionalized within the Ottoman state, which would see the recruitment and training of young Christian peasant boys into various roles within the central Ottoman administration and military.
I like his artwork. This artwork is actually like really nice. Bloody hell. Bloody hell.
Conquests in the Balkans.
I don't know why
it's
on the full screen.
The empires of Bulgaria and Serbia were in the slow process of decentralization and economic stagnation. During the first half of the 14th century, both states had taken advantage of the rapid loss of Byzantine power in the Balkans by annexing large swaths of Byzantine lands in the region.
So they also gobbled up Eastern Roman Empire. So it was not just the Ottomans. Okay.
The Byzantine world was crumbling. Serbia, under Emperor Stefan Uroš IV, would reach its territorial, political, economic and cultural peak, thereby ushering in a mini-Serbian golden age. It was during this period the Serbian emperor would openly contest and undermine Byzantine authority in the region by proclaiming himself as the Emperor of the Serbs and Greeks, thereby declaring himself to be the true inheritor of the Roman legacy, in addition to propping up the Serbian patriarch.
Serbia claimed itself to be the inheritance of the Roman legacy. Bro, how many people claim to be the inheritance of Rome, dude?
As the head of Eastern Orthodoxy. However, in 1355, the benevolent and ambitious ruler of Serbia would suddenly die, leaving his newly constructed empire to his son Stefan Uroš V. Lacking the political and martial skills of his father, and often being indecisive in his ruling, Uroš V would be unable to keep the Serbian nobility under his control for most of his reign. By 1365, the most powerful of the Serbian nobles, Vukašin Munjevčević, had considerable influence over Uroš and was even given the lesser title of King.
I hate this Bordogor. This is like hoi for level of Bordogor.
King of Serbia, and effectively ruled over the weak emperor. Meanwhile, Bulgaria, under Tsar Ivan Alexander, would also go through a period of decentralization, which would see the empire being split into 3 separate entities, all ruled by semi-autonomous Bulgarian princes.
I always forget that Bulgaria has a Tsar.
Under his rule and seeking to get revenge for the Battle of Srpscinda, King Vukašin Munjevčević, at the head of a 50,000-strong force, alongside much of the Serbian nobility.
That is big. Okay, 50,000. Okay, that is actually sizable for this time. Wow, 50,000.
Would invade the Ottoman Beyliği during the late summer of 1371. Stationed in Edirne and hearing the news of an incoming Crusader invasion from the Balkans, Lala Shahin Pasha would send out letters to Murad, who was in Bursa with most of the Ottoman army, to send military reinforcements to Thrace at once, while Gazi of Renos Bey was gathering the remaining Ottoman forces in Thrace to put up minor resistance against the Crusaders. As the Crusader army reached near the outskirts of the Ottoman capital, the military decision to halt and encamp near the river Maritza was taken.
Oh my gosh, do not tell me that this is gonna mess everything up. Oh yes, guys. He made a military decision that completely altered the whole campaign. Do you know how many times I've watched historical videos or I've reacted to historical videos and that literally happened? I swear there's a pattern.
By the Serbian nobility. According to Ottoman chronicles, the Crusader army had begun to feast at night, leaving their encampment.
No, guys. Oh, I'm calling it right now. They were sleeping, they were drunk, they were eating, they were caught lacking. The Ottomans came and completely destroyed them. I've reacted to so much of this that I just know what happens. I just know this is going to happen. It's the same pattern. It's the same script. Over and over and over. Watch.
Unprotected. The Serbian nobility did not believe a major Ottoman army was in the region.
Oh my god. Oh my god. What? I'm telling you.
Since most of the Ottoman army had been recalled to Anatolia months before by Murad.
Look at that.
With the element of surprise on his side, Gazi of Renos Bey and his 800-strong scouting retinue would ambush the Crusader camp in the middle of the night, alongside Lala Shah.
What did I tell you? Oh, I hope I didn't break my headset there. But what did I tell you? I told you. I called it.
In Pasha's garrison forces from Edirne. Thousands of Serbians were killed in their tents, and many drowned in the nearby Maritza as a large-scale panic engulfed the Serbian camp.
The Ottomans got so lucky, man.
Raid. Serbian King Vukašin Munjevčević and the bulk of the Serbian nobility would too be slaughtered in the pursuing mayhem, which would see the destruction of the Crusader army. Only by the time the sun was up the following morning, it became evident to Ottoman leaders that they had won a major victory. According to Balkan chronicles, the Maritza was polluted with thousands of bodies, and the river ran scarlet with the blood of those killed during the battle for weeks. The
Dude,
Ottoman victory during the
50,000,
Battle
dude.
of Maritza, also known as the Battle of Chernomon, would firmly secure Ottoman presence in the Balkans. The battle would also mark
It's almost like if God was on the Ottoman side. It's like if God just wanted the Ottoman Empire to expand, dude.
the beginning of the end of the Serbian Empire, as the childless Stefan Uroš V would die during the following winter, leaving what remained of the Serbian nobility to establish their own despotates in
And
the
they
former imperial lands of
Balkanized.
the emperor.
And they Balkanized.
Hearing the news of the crusade against him and the victory at the Maritza, Murad I and the bulk of the Ottoman army would swiftly travel back into Thrace, where the Ottoman Sultan would once again make plans to swiftly travel back to his European holdings and conduct another major military campaign in the Balkans after the collapse of the Serbian Empire. During the year 1372, Ottoman armies would begin the campaign by marching into Serbian-held Macedonia alongside the Aegean coast, conquering the cities of Xanthi, Kavala, Drama, Ceres, Kyustendil and Veria.
Bro, at that point, you
In
should
addition
take
to
the
the
whole
conquests of many
Eastern
towns
Roman
in
Empire,
Macedonia,
dude.
the Serbian breakaway domains of Prilep and Velbajд both submitted and became vassals of Murad as Ottoman armies approached their gates. With the Ottoman victory at the Battle of Maritza and Muslim armies now freely marching around the Balkans, the Bulgarian and Byzantine empires both made strides to reach a rapprochement with Murad to keep their realms intact. In 1373, John V Palaiologos became a tributary to Edirne in return for retaining the few Balkan holdings he still ruled, like the major coastal city of Thessalonica. Meanwhile, the newly appointed Tsar Ivan Shishman of Bulgaria would also negotiate with Murad to become a tributary to Edirne, in addition to also giving the hand of his sister, Kere Tamara, to the Ottoman Sultan. Within only 2 years after his victory at the Maritza, Sultan Murad I, grandson to a lowly nomadic warlord who migrated to Anatolia, had become the overlord of both the Byzantine and Bulgarian empires, in addition to large swaths of the former
I wouldn't even call I wouldn't even call the Eastern Roman Empire an empire anymore.
Serbian Empire. In our next episode on the early history of the Ottoman Empire, we will explore further into the reign of Murad I
Is that
and his
it?
future military campaigns in
yeah.
the Balkans.
Dude, that was the Ottomans got so lucky in this episode. They got so lucky in this episode. I mean, was it entertaining? Yeah. But why? I expected more, man. I really expected more from the Ottomans' enemies. Like, I don't even know what to say. I'm just like, wow. It was that one-sided. Like, this is how the Ottomans came to be, with just pure luck. I wouldn't even call that luck. I think freaking God / Allah was watching over them and gave him all that luck. Anyways, man, make sure to like the video. Check out my other videos on my channel if you like my reactions. If you're bored or something, you're eating dinner, you're eating food, you're by yourself, something like that, and you just need something to do, something to watch. That's what I do. Yeah, you can go watch my videos, watch my reactions, hear what I have to say. Keep yourself busy. If you're new, make sure to subscribe if you like what I have to say. I have some very interesting stuff to say on my reactions, and with that, goodbye.